Welcome to Rise Above, where Arda Ozanmir, Jane Reeder, and Stephanie Ivanek help you master your energy, master your life. Live from Palo Alto, California, it's time to get mindful and rise above.
Country road. Have you ever felt that the world is far away from you? And you, in your own rundown shoes, walking on a rough country road. In the beginning, sure, it feels lonely, because you simply don't know who you are and where you're going. Mountains after valleys, sunshines after rains. One day, you find yourself nowhere. You are simply lost. You thought it was out there. You thought they told you where. You thought you did it all to get there. But now, it's just you. And you. You solitary traveler, ask yourself what's next. And wait. And wait. And wait. Until you hear you deeply, loudly. Who thought you'd be so wild? Who thought you'd be so free? Who thought you'd be so able? But now, it's just you and you. Eyes closed, ears deafened, mouth shut. Write your own story on that country road.
Hi, and welcome to Rise to Realize. Today we have Arda, Stephanie, and Jane all talking about the art of the expressive outlet. And what you just heard was Arda's poem, Country Road. So last podcast, we spoke about New Year's resolutions, and Arda focused on really honing in on your deep connection with yourself, kind of trying to figure out where you are right now and how you're going to show up this year, where you would like to be and where you are now. So today we're going to explore the interplay of having an expressive outlet with getting to know yourself deeper. So I want to welcome Jane and Arda to the show today.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
So let's just dive right in. That was a beautiful poem, Arda. I could really visualize myself on a country road. I'd love to just know your inspiration behind that poem.
Well, actually, I didn't want to read this before the podcast. I want to kind of get your thoughts and reaction as you guys hear it first time as our audience. The inspiration was actually obviously our theme, where we want to kind of talk about the self-expression and creative expression of oneself. And last night, after our meeting, I started kind of honing into this inner voice to look at this as a road, right? It's a process. And we talked about it last episode, where the values that are actually we're connecting, that are coming from within, is our guiding principles on this road. And that's why I found myself going into this, I am alone on this road. It's just me and me. It's just I and I, just walking and tapping into what I am. I could be wild, I could be shy, I could be creative, I could be dumb, I could be intelligent, I could be, I don't know, nobody. But then just kind of, what are my values? Am I living on this country road? Am I walking on this country road according to my values? So it's an invitation to inward travel, inward attention, inward awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of, when you were describing that inspiration, it kind of felt like a blank canvas. Like, what is your country road gonna look like, right?
Exactly.
Like, how wild are you gonna get, or how reserved are you going to be? And like the valleys and the mountains and the way just like the tides turn, and you mentioned the sunshine to the rain, it's like always in flux. So like, how do you navigate it, right?
Exactly, Stephanie, exactly. Because when people say like, hey, I think I'm introverted based on my, personality test, I think I am the, life of the party, I'm an extrovert. These are all states of beings to me, right? It just, it changes. It has mountains, it has valleys, the weather changes. According to weather, I change. But something remains the same, they're my values. And as we get to know each other on this kind of long country road, that's when things start to not affect us from outside, but we start to actually express ourselves fully, more creatively. And last night it was interesting because I said, you know what, for today, for this podcast, I'm going to just get one of the poems that I did. And you know what happened? I looked it up. One of my poems that I wrote in April 2017. And that's when I started kind of really listening to the voice and these poetic, words coming through. And I looked at it. I said like, well, that's not me now. Mm-hmm. April 2017, I was totally different, in a different state of mind. Now, I actually put the last piece, cut and paste the last piece. I said, this is going to be my inspiration because I felt it was a little more motivational than the first part of that poem from 2017. And then I said, wait a second, this is really not even inspiring me anymore. Mm-hmm. So then I waited, and that's why the phrase came, wait and wait and wait, because the words start to kind of trickle in, and I started pulling the words, and the whole thing came out.
How beautiful. Jane, what from the poem spoke to you?
Well, what I was just thinking about was what you just said. You were driving towards getting something, and it didn't resonate, and then you waited. So to me, that's about creating space for it to come in and listening to yourself about what's happening for you, right? And that is like the key to creative expression, right? Is to say, wait a minute, I'm not who I was yesterday. I'm who I am right in this moment of now. And allowing that space and giving yourself that space to be one with it, whatever comes out, right?
Beautiful. Exactly. Actually, exactly. The allowance of to be, period. Right? Allowance to get yourself in the space, and that can only happen from within. Well, it can happen from, this is a beautiful day today, I feel inspired. Yes. But it's a little bit dependent on the outside. What you are can be consistent because you're allowing, but the consistency can change from day to day. Hey, today I feel creative, so then create. Today I'm playful, then play. Today I'm little, kind of feeling that my body wants to rest. Okay, stay inside. Just that allowance to be and waiting, creating that space. You said it so beautifully. Creating that space gives that little voice to be heard.
So, Jane and Arda, when you guys are listening and tuning into your inner self and you're figuring out, I'm playful right now, or I need to be more reserved and press pause, what types of questions are you asking yourself so that you can go a little bit deeper and allow where you truly are in this moment to kind of shine through? I ask this just because I think sometimes it's hard. Like, sometimes you think you need to be out as a social butterfly, but what you really need is actually to journal, but you don't realize that. So I'm hoping that we can have a little discussion about that.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is, you might plan for one thing because that's what you think, tomorrow I'm going to give myself space and I'm going to go outside because that sounds like the right thing to do. But then you get outside and something feels off, is what I would notice, right? Something just doesn't feel light, or it doesn't feel open. So asking myself, what do I want in this moment? And sometimes it's less of a question and more of just being in the moment and breathing into the moment and seeing what just comes up naturally, instead of torturing myself. Do I want this? Do I want that? It seems to me that the more I just wait for something to come up naturally, organically, then it's the right thing. And it doesn't feel like a judging thing or anything like that. Like, oh, I committed to doing this, I should do it. None of that. It's much more like, wow, I really feel like curling up with a book. Or I just told Stephanie before, I just moved and I have boxes in the house, and it's like, wow, I wish I could go to a hotel room that's clean and just curl up in a little nook and just relax. So that tells me I just want to clear my space and spend some time in a quiet way, right?
And my question in those moments, absolutely, like sometimes we are drawn to somewhere, and is it or make a decision or have a choice about something. Even just selecting your meal at the restaurant, or you're waking up, which cafe I should be hanging out at this morning. It's just that there are always questions, there are always movement. The question that I asked as you were starting our discussion, the question I asked is that, am I aligned with myself? And just kind of like, am I acting out of my head? Being in finance, 10 years ago, the corporate world, there are always thoughts. There's always a planning. I need to do this. I have a to-do list. And where is that to-do list coming from? Is it coming from my head? Is it coming from my heart? Is it coming from my body? And I always have success when I'm aligning all of those three. Right? When I'm in a situation, sometimes even a very fun thing, like I go to SF Jazz and listen to jazz and I love it. But when I do it out of my head, my body says, hey, you should have been in bed by now. Right? Because I have ignored my body and I'm not aligned. So there is a little bit of discomfort. It's a feeling. That's it. I call it inner feeling. So that inner feeling is aligned when I align my mind, heart, and the body. If not, there's a little bit of discomfort. That's when I know I need to navigate a little more carefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting because in the yoga world, the practice of yoga is all about that mind-body connection. And what I'm hearing a lot of you say right now, Arda, is that it's the mind-body connection when you are creating those to-do lists and allowing those feelings to come up.
Yes. And we are also talking about the creative expression here. And some people will say like, hey, I have errands to do. Is that a mind? Is that a body? Well, when it's an obligation, it's just not even thinking about it. I have clients coming in and they have like tons of to-do lists and they keep actually repeating to-do lists. They know it because they lose the old one. Then they create another one and they start finding all these 5 to-do lists, and they look at it and all these items are very similar to each other. So when you think about it, the errands we run, oh my God, this is such a chore. This is like laundry. Oh my God, I cannot do laundry because I have so many things, other things to do, other fun things to do. Laundry is a drag. Laundry is a chore. But when you think about it, you have to do it. So how do you get yourself to do it? Your mind says like, this is bad. But if you kind of move out of that, that's the kind of a mighty mind and the body connection. You just do it. In those moments, I drop into my body and neutralize everything. And I say, like, okay, what do I need to do now? I need to do my laundry. And I grab every piece. I put every piece, just, Jane, as you said, like, in the moment, I'm putting every piece into the washing machine. Mm-hmm. It takes 15 minutes.
Yeah, one thing that our listeners can't see is the joy that you had when you were sharing the poem with us. Like, you outwardly had a huge smile. You were just like glowing as you were reading your poem and talking about it. And to me, I sensed just a lot of happiness and joy and excitement. And so, Jane and Arda, I'm just curious to hear, when you are connecting your mind and body and executing a creative outlet form, let's talk about what you feel and how that shows up.
Well, the first thing I think about is time, actually, because I'm usually not thinking about time when I'm in that space, that feeling of it, because I'm just doing something that's totally in the moment. Whatever I'm doing, that's all I'm paying attention to. So I notice that I'm not thinking about another to-do list or another errand or whatever. I'm just thinking about whatever I'm doing. Sometimes when I was a kid, my aunt had a painting and a kiln, and she taught me how to paint, and I loved that feeling of painting. It was very quiet and meditative, and sometimes I would still do that, like take a vacation day and go paint. And I'm like the only person during the week, in the painting store painting, and it's just like hours would go by, and I finally noticed, I'm numb from sitting, because I've just been so there.
You're lost in time.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter what I painted, any of that, the result of it. It was just like having so much fun doing it.
So the previous example, exactly, the previous example about the laundry is being in the moment and getting lost in time, because you are not even questioning that this is a bad thing or a good thing. Mm-hmm. On the expressive, on the creative expression side, it's a very similar process. We are not questioning when the words are coming. We are not questioning, is this a good poem, is it a good painting, is this acceptable, how do I look in this? It's just allowing everything to flow through. And when it happens, that means that you are completely aligned with that mind, heart, and the body. And naturally, a joy, a feeling of joy, a sensation of even tingling, and a sensation of fulfillment overcomes you. It's such a interesting process. And I'm so foreign to this, by the way. I don't know, when your creative expression started in your life, but in finance, in the corporate world, again, up to 10 years ago, never thought I would even put two sentences together for creativity. I mean, I had a lot of, financial reports, and I stood up in front of the board and made presentations.
That wasn't bringing you joy, Arda.
well, let's not go there.
Kidding.
I know. Yeah, I was so joyful. It is actually, that's a good question, because if I had my mindset now, the example I gave you about the laundry, if I were in the moment and I said, you know what, this is what I need to do. This is a presentation. These are the numbers. This is the, comparative numbers year over year. And I have to do this. Maybe with this mindset, if I go back 10, 15 years ago, not that I will go back to the corporate world, but it just at that time, that was my self-expression, right? I was VP Finance. How could I have made it more fun, more joyful, and more fulfilling to bring some kind of creativity to the slides that I presented? Maybe another angle to the numbers. I don't know, but I always wondered about that. So it's a, I know you're joking, but it just, at the same time, I kind of think about that. If anybody today, they complain about their work and they are trying to change their careers, but what they can do now with this input they have, what is their output given what they have right now? Yes, everybody wants to have another job that is more fulfilling. Yes, we want to, have this Rise to Realize more global, more active, more. But what can we do now? Can we enjoy this process? And how can we make it more creative, like we are doing?
Yeah, so your experience seems to really be what you make of it, right? And as you're going through your day-to-day routine, bringing more creativity could inherently lead to more joy and happiness. Is that what you're saying, Arda?
Absolutely. Exactly.
So at what point in your career journey from finance to healer did you decide to take that mindful pause and explore the written word?
So it is interesting because it was just the opening. And back to the country road, it was just waiting, and with some intention. I realized there were things that were not working, right? And when they were not working, my complaints became my values. Like one of the complaints was that I was in finance, in the corporate world, in finance, but I said but I want to help people. I want to work with people. I want to be of service. And that complaint became, wait a second, that's my value. I need to follow that value. So when I started following that value, things start to open up, because then somebody will mention to me, oh, there's a course, Reiki course, would you like to attend? And I said, what does Reiki do? Oh, that's a service to others. Okay, I'll jump in. And then when I did the Reiki workshop, all of a sudden somebody asked, did you hear about Reiki? I wonder how it feels like. Okay, I know Reiki. So I did apply Reiki to that person, and then she's told the other person, then I'm actually feeling that I'm connecting with this. So that's kind of how it happened. Like door after door, I followed the joy, I followed the value.
Mm-hmm. What about your poetry specifically? When did that show up in your life?
Oh, because you said healer, I was going that way. But the words start to come when I felt very, very lonely. When I was going through a tough time after I broke off a 23-year-old marriage. We were separating, and we were very friendly, and we were kind of consciously decoupling. But I felt very lonely. I lost my pal. I lost my partner. I lost my dreams. So I was just sitting with that, just kind of internally reflecting on those feelings that I was feeling, maybe first time, and the feelings that I wanted to avoid all my life. So in that kind of very depressive state, the words start to come, and I start writing those again, back to that allowance. Jane, as you were saying, just allowance. I allowed the words come in. They were not soothing. Mm-hmm. I shared with one of my friends from Istanbul, like my childhood friends, high school friends, and then she said, Arda, this is not you. I cannot read these things. Don't send this to me. And I was just trying to get the feedback. But it was dark, but the words were coming, and I was allowing them. I was waiting, and all of a sudden I realized I don't need to control anything. There's no ending, no beginning, and we are very good friends with my ex Elif, and just and there's no ending, no beginning. It was flowing, and the words were coming, and I realized I might have some poetic expression. Who knew? Seriously, that's how it happened.
And for you, Jane, what's your preferred form of creative outlet?
Well, right now it has been writing too. I like poetry. I like writing things, and I wanted to write for a long time, but never made the time for it, because you really have to make an effort. I mean, I had kids around and a job, and I had all these reasons why, but either at night or in the morning, spending extra time just being okay and saying, okay, I'm going to allow this time to write if something comes up, and if it doesn't come up, not being tied to that.
When did you first decide that you wanted to try out writing and incorporate that into your daily routine?
A few years ago.
What was that process like?
I think it was a lot of starting and stopping, because in the beginning there was a feeling of more forcing it, I think, because I really wanted to do this, and here I was sitting making this time. I'm there, so something needs to happen. And it should be good too, right? It shouldn't be something that I don't want to see or nobody wants to read. What's the point of that, right? And then the more I let go of that and just flowed with it, the better what came out was. And if nothing came out at all, I just said, well, I needed some quiet today. That's what I needed instead of writing.
Something that you said is so interesting, because like the poetry, the poem you were writing, you had the thought of, who wants to read this, right? And then you turn that into, hey, this is what I'm going to write. So in the beginning, when the words were coming, I was judging them. It's just like, is this the right word? Is this going to flow? Like last night, I was so joyful, and probably, Stephanie, that's what you saw this morning, because in the first sentence, when I started writing, the words were coming, but I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know whether, I was going to write a long one or it's a short one, or what kind of, I didn't even think about the country road. It was just like, the only impression I had was you and the world far away. And you're trying to walk into the world and find your place, but the place is within you. And it just that, even like now, I'm thinking about it, right? At that time, there was no thinking. And the most joyful moment I will have is when I don't think about the others, but letting the words come through and then having fun with it. Oh my God, like, what am I creating? And you'll get to a point, and for our audience, just like when you are writing, just allow yourself. Pages after pages, if you're into writing or painting, just canvas after canvas. Just express and see the feeling of it. When it's joyful, you get to a point where you write it, you are like exploding. It's just the elixir, like you're drinking. It's just in ecstasy. You're in ecstasy, and you don't care about any feedback. That moment, guys, that moment is just incredible.
Yeah. So Arda and Jane share that their creative outlet is writing, but my creative outlets take very different forms. So for me, my biggest creative outlet is cooking and baking. And while I wish I didn't take people's feedback into account, I can't help it, even though I truly am my harshest critic sometimes. But just being in the kitchen and moving around the kitchen, I just get in the zone to create whatever dish it is that I'm trying to. And I really look at it like a dance, because all the different movements and the mixing of things together is an art form in the kitchen space. Some other things that I consider to be creative outlets are when I've had a really rough day. I shared with Arda and Jane in prepping for this that I love to turn on some old school 90s grunge rock and sing at the top of my lungs like Nirvana, or sometimes I'll go diva and do Whitney or Janet Jackson or Mariah Carey. And I just dance and sing at the top of my lungs in front of the mirror, and I feel really good, and I just kind of let it out. Or at other days, my creative outlet is to just like take a walk around the block and just like observe nature and just be in nature. And to me, that sparks a lot of other creativity to follow it. So I'm just curious, what are some other ways that Jane and Arda, outside of writing, that you also find yourselves being creative, so that our audience can sort of think of where these creative outlets might fall in their lives?
So, I mean, I saw myself when you were describing the dancing. I actually had the image of myself dancing a couple of days ago. I had a pretty long day, and I felt the stagnant energy all over my body, and I kind of felt that I need to just kind of move. And then I put this Journey, Separate Ways by Journey. And I was actually listening. It came up on the radio. And then I couldn't get enough of it because I'm in the car. I'm just sitting. Then I went home and I turned the Sonos into the loudest I could listen to. And I started dancing. Just the whole, I was showered with the new energy because the stagnant energy was just being removed, being released. And I was moving my hands, and I was getting into, as well, I'm getting into this 5 rhythms, like a spiritual dance or ecstatic dance, where you start to move your body. And in those moments, and kind of it was an inspiration when I was getting rid of that stagnant energy. When I go to those gatherings, spiritual dance or ecstatic dance gatherings, in the beginning, I was thinking about others, like how they see me move, and I don't share this with. I haven't shared this with many people, but at high school when we were on a spring break, I was at the disco and somebody tapped on my shoulder, and the person said, "You just don't need to move," because I was. And he said, "Do you feel the music?" Because I was so stiff. I was like a stick, And somebody, I don't know why, took it upon themselves to tell me that I was not moving. So obviously, 40 years later, I am moving as liquid as I could. My fingertips move differently than my toes, and my hair and my eyebrows move differently than my elbows. It's just like, because I feel the music actually flowing through my body. Again, back to this, I don't care if the windows were open, the neighbors were going through, walking by, I'm listening to Separate Ways, Journey, or any songs, and I like African drums as well. Just like, who cares? I'm expressing myself the way I feel the music, the way my body feels the music.
Mm-hmm. That's very liberating. How about for you, Jane?
Well, I guess one thing that I really like is I like playing with little kids. Because they are so in the moment and so creative, like all this imagination kinds of things. So you can imagine you're in a different place, you're a different person. This morning my granddaughter was dressed as Elsa, and I needed to make her a braid so that her hair looked just like her. That kind of imagination play is so much fun. And it's fun to do it as an adult, to get out of our head about what we should, quote unquote be doing, reading stories and being in character, kind of like the improv kind of thing, but you're pretending you're somebody in a story, and what would it be like to be that person in a story. And the kinds of things you do with kids, where you start a story and you say one or two words, and then their job is to say the next few words, and then they want you to make up the whole story. Where did it start from just like a couple of words, and then in the end you have like, oh, we made this story together of an adventure, right? Those kinds of things are fun.
The kids know how to be because they don't have that judgment. I love that. I wish we all go back to 5-year-old selves, right? That liberating sensation of no judgment. Everybody can be your friend. I love that Seinfeld said, like, it's so difficult to be friends when you're 30 and up, right? Or even like, I don't know, 10 and up. Because like at 5-year-old, when you're just playing with the ball and somebody stranger coming like another 5-year walking by, you say, hey, what are you doing? Just throw the ball and you start playing. Improvisation, nature and so authentic. They know how to be.
Definitely.
I love it.
So I think the big takeaways that I'm hearing is just that being open and in tune with yourself is really a key component to this creative outlet, and that really creative outlets can take any form that is meaningful to you. So creative outlet like cooking might show up very differently to me than it does to Arda or Jane, and the way that they're writing and poetry and imaginations show up for them is different than how it shows up to me, and that's completely 100% okay.
100% okay. 100%. And so back to that listening, like waiting, allowing, listening, expressing.
And also that these creative outlets allow all of us to have a little bit more joy in our life and more positivity and more happiness.
Vibration higher, frequency higher, life is incredible. The flow is incredible.
So we really encourage all of you listening to try to find a creative outlet that you can leverage as you navigate through 2019. So with that, Art is going to lead us in a meditation to help us on this creative outlet journey.
So for this meditation, I invite you all sit comfortably. Put your feet flat on the floor. Straight back, neck and head. Palms resting on your laps, facing down. And now take a deep breath in. When you're exhaling, melt into the chair a little bit and release the stagnant energy out of your feet into the floor. Take another deep breath in. And when you're exhaling again, releasing the tension, the stagnant energy out of your body into the earth through the bottoms of your feet. Excellent. Now relax your feet. Relax your ankles, your knees, and your legs. Relax your upper body, relaxing your belly, your stomach, and your chest. Relax your neck and shoulders. Arms resting comfortably. And now relax your head, your face, your forehead, your eyes, your cheeks, your mouth, and your chin. Today we are going to energetically explore the creative expression. For that, I'd like you to softly bring your gaze, your mind's eye gaze, your focus softly on the center of your chest. As you focus on your heart energy center, I like you to feel that your arms are opening. You don't have to move your palms, arms, but I like you to visualize that your arms are opening to the world, to life. Where you start to feel something is coming, a form of self-expression. Feel it in your body. What resonates with you? Is it writing? As you were listening to us, did it inspire you to write? Poetry? Short novels? Mysteries? Or painting? Or playing with kids? Or traveling? What is your self-expression? What is your creative expression? So let's allow that to come. Through your heart energy center, through the center of your chest, allow that to flow in and visualize. Where do you feel connected? Connected to life. Where do you feel in that self-expression, self-creative expression? Where do you feel that you are connected to life? You feel that joy all over your body. What is your self-expression where you have tingling in every cell in your body? So once you start to connect with that, it's a feeling of, I cannot wait this guided meditation to end so that I can start to write. So if it's writing, imagine yourself putting a pen on paper. Pen on paper, and then flowing, letting the pencil flow through your page. If it's painting, imagine a white canvas and you are putting your brush. What color is it? What kind of oil painting you're using? Or is it a watercolor? Beautiful. Just see it happening on the canvas. If it's travel, where do you see yourself traveling? If it's hiking, where do you see yourself hiking? Again, carry yourself to this place of joy, fulfillment, connection. Do you feel it? Do you feel it in your mind? Do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it in your heart? Take a deep breath in into your heart and release any attachments to judgment, others' thoughts, what the world will think of you. Be as wild, as creative, as free you like to be. Take another deep breath in into the center of your chest and release any chains from your heart and release them into the earth through the bottoms of your feet. Now slowly bring your focus down to your belly, center yourself, feel your body. From the center of your body, bring your focus to the bottoms of your feet as you ground yourself. And as you connect with earth, feel the safety the earth provides. Feel your body standing on this earth as you connect through the bottoms of your feet and the earth underneath your feet. This is the place. This is your place. Step into your place, claim your place, and allow whatever is coming through you be expressed in your own unique voice, your own unique style. There's only one of you, and that's you. Take another deep breath in. This one, the entire body feels this new energy, and exhale and shed off the old energies. Just shed them off. Another deep breath in. This is the last one. From the crown all the way to the toes, the new energy, and exhaling the old stagnant energy that has been holding you back, and springing into your new place of living.
Thank you, Arda. That was wonderful. As you're just fluttering your eyes open, we thank you for your time today on Rise Above. And we're curious how these creative outlets show up for you in your daily lives. So if you're on Instagram or Facebook, we encourage you to hashtag Rise Above, and some of you might see your creative outlets refeatured on our page. Thanks again, and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.